Most of us operate under a specific set of assumptions about who we are. We are told we are biological machines, programmed by our genes to chase status and hoard resources, as if survival were a zero-sum game. This narrative relies on a dark view of our origins, that early humans lived in a state of violent anarchy. To escape the chaos, we supposedly struck a bargain, sacrificing our primordial freedoms in exchange for the order and material security of the state. Public intellectuals like Steven Pinker argue that this trajectory was inevitable. From this perspective, extreme social inequality is simply the unavoidable tax we pay for the benefits of a complex, modern civilization. However, anthropologist David Graeber and archaeologist David Wengrow suggest a different defining trait for our species. They argue that what truly makes us human is our capacity for political imagination, our ability to consciously design the rules we live by. The idea that humanity marched in a straight line from primitive equality to civilized hierarchy was largely a response to the Enlightenment. European thinkers used this stages of progress myth to dismiss indigenous critics who were pointing out the obvious failures and cruelties of European society. The sense that our current level of inequality is a natural result of evolution is a recent conditioning. It is a framework we have been taught to accept as an unchangeable law of nature. For most of our history, humans didn't pick one system and stick to it. Many groups practiced seasonal fluidity, adopting strict command structures during harvests or hunts, only to dissolve them and return to radical egalitarianism for the rest of the year. We see schismogenesis, where neighboring groups consciously organize their societies to be the exact opposite of their rivals. This behavior shows our ancestors were politically self-conscious. They treated social structures like flexible software that could be rewritten rather than hardwired biological traits. We see this at Teotihuacan in modern-day Mexico. Despite its massive scale, archaeologists haven't found royal palaces or the lavish tombs of individual kings. Instead, they found thousands of high-quality, uniform apartment compounds, suggesting a city organized around egalitarian lines. This evidence supports Hannah Arendt's view that true power is not synonymous with violent force. To Arendt, power only exists when people act in concert, using persuasion and speech to reach collective decisions. These examples suggest that mass hierarchy was never a requirement for building a city. History shows that authoritarian rule was a specific choice, not a necessity of a growing population. While this political play was diverse, it was also shaped by our biology. Evolutionary anthropologists like Chris Knight and Camilla Power argue that the need for egalitarianism was actually hard-coded into our early development as a species. Our ancestors faced a unique pressure. Our large-brained infants were born helpless and required massive amounts of cooperative care. For our species to survive, mothers needed a reliable network of support that could only be maintained by enforcing a strict baseline of social equality. We find evidence for this in the archaeological record of red ochre. Groups of women likely used these pigments in synchronized rituals to signal their collective solidarity. By establishing reverse dominance, they prevented individual males from monopolizing resources or power. We did not evolve to be submissive. Our very cognitive evolution, the development of our large, complex minds, relied on the ability to collectively refuse and overthrow anyone who tried to dominate the group. If our biology requires cooperation, and our history allows for infinite imagination, how did we get stuck in permanent inequality? The shift occurred when temporary authority became permanent. Emerging elites stopped relying on the needs of the season and began claiming a monopoly on the sacred, turning a specific ritual role into a divine right to rule. We see the traces of this shift in the ruins of ancient Mesopotamia. Early kings used the metaphor of the cattle pen to describe their cities, reframing subjects as a flock requiring the protection of a shepherd king. Machiavelli recognized this as the pragmatic core of statecraft. The state was not a natural outgrowth of human kindness, but a mechanism designed to manage self-interest and channel human political agency into manageable obedience. The result is the modern state, an engineering project spanning millennia, designed to convert our innate political creativity into a state of permanent docility. Michel Foucault argued that modern domination operates even more subtly. He used the term biopower to describe how the state regulates our health, our habits, and our very biological existence to keep the system running. Power reaches its peak when it moves beyond physical force. Its ultimate goal is to produce subjects who no longer have the conceptual resources to even describe a different way of living. This is the reality of capitalist realism, a psychological state where it feels easier to imagine a global catastrophe than it does to imagine a different economic or social order. Our ancestors thrived because they could collectively refuse power and imagine something new. The tragedy of the present is that we have been separated from that social mind, leaving us in a world where alternatives to the status quo feel unthinkable.